What's up, folks? Welcome to Mated Show. My name's Ethan Lunn,
And I'm Mike.
and we're here to discuss the latest episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 1 finale, A Quality of Mercy.
Yeah, yeah. What did you think,
Hmm.
Ethan? What did you think? I get
Well,
you
we
just
go.
as a drink goes to your mouth.
Oh, man. Yeah, well, you would make a good waiter. Um,
Yep.
well, obviously, we do non spoilers first. Overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. It was a great cherry on top of a great series, great season of a great show. Wonderful episode. Um, I got my wibbly wobbly timey wimey that I've been after.
Yeah. You did say it was
Um,
coming at some point, so
there's got to
you
be
were right
some
there.
timey wimey, you
Yeah.
know. Um, yeah. What about yourself?
I thought it was good to between good and very good. So I didn't put it as very good for myself, and that's in part because I don't think the message did amazing on it, and if anything, it
Mm.
probably took away from a bit of the message of the show that it's doing a bit of a copy and paste from.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, I can see what you're saying there. Yeah, there is some copy and pasting doing. There is. It's a
Mm.
big. I mean, it's hard to get into, but yeah, like I say, it's timey wimey and there's copy and pasting happening. You can probably guess kind of
Yeah.
what we mean by that.
If we just include it in the non spoilers that let's say some of this episode copies very heavily from a TOS episode.
Yeah,
I think
it
that's
lines
still non
right up
spoilers.
next to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
and unfortunately, I think comparison wise to that episode, because it's a very good, one of the best episodes of TOS,
Agreed.
then when you come to when you end up aping it or doing a bit of a copy paste, then you're inviting opinions that are going, well, compared to this, one of the best episodes of one of the most iconic TV shows of the last 70 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a strong argument on that side.
Mm.
But I think the show. I think the people making the show very clearly know what they're doing. Um,
Yeah.
like they clearly hold that original episode in high regard, and
Mm.
they effort was definitely made to do it justice.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it
It,
looked
it's held
fantastic.
in it's held in a lot of reverence, like Lower Decks holds stuff in reverence, doesn't it?
Yeah,
You know,
certainly.
there's no abusing that original canon, I would say, or that original
Mm-mm.
episode too much.
No.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, like like you say, when comparisons are invited, there's obviously some elements that I prefer of the
Mm.
original. But I think you know, for the most part, I think they did a good job
Yeah.
with the message they were trying to put forward in the episode.
Mm.
Being, look, it's a
Yeah.
good episode. They did a good
Mm.
job. Everything else that I want to say is kind of spoilery, you
Yeah.
know. So
Well,
you
let's
know,
get into spoilers nice and early then.
yeah, man.
If we only want to talk
Let's just
spoilers,
jump
let's do
straight in
spoilers.
because everyone's seen it. We'll start with my usual thing. If you like TOS's Balance of Terror, you will fucking love this episode, or you'll hate it.
Yeah.
Or you'll think it's between good and very good, which I guess is quite good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Quite good.
because yes, this episode it's an alternate timeline rendition. It's a
Hmm.
cover. It's a cover of Balance of Terror by Chris Pike. So
Yeah.
it's what would have happened in that episode if Pike was still the captain of the Enterprise. Which which was fun because also if you like the Kelvin timeline movies, you were gonna fucking love this episode
Yeah.
because it's basically it's an alternate timeline thing, much like one of my favorite TNG episodes, Yesterday's Enterprise.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, If you like those three things, you're gonna love and or hate this.
Yeah, I mean, it's that sort of episode where people are gonna love or hate it on how people who are, let's say, overly attached to TOS and the episode will
Yes.
hate it.
And the aesthetics, particularly because like it's all still Strange New Worldsy. Everything looks all slick and pretty. Nothing's made of cardboard. How are Memory Alpha gonna work their way out of this one?
I was only just
What?
thinking then they'll have to say in this alternate timeline,
In the alternate
future
timeline.
of Strange New Worlds, which is TOS, they decided not to change the ship at all.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah,
I can't wait. Oh man, I should have taken a screenshot yesterday, and we could have compared it.
I wish I'd took one of the Farragut page.
Yeah,
Because the Farragut's, for getting way into the episode, the Farragut's in this episode, I was like, the Farragut's definitely mentioned in 09. And
Yes.
it's around Starbase 1 or their version of Starbase 1. Let's see if I can see it. And you can't, but there's like one or two ships that look like this one looked. So I was like, yeah, that'll do it.
But yeah, should we get into the episode then?
Yeah, let's go. So it's another Pike episode. So naturally, it's a captain's log from him, talking how they're on the edge of the neutral zone, retrofitting outposts, the same outposts from Balance of Terror. And because it's a mirror from the first episode of the season, because it's his episode again, we've got Captain Batal.
Captain Batal. Yes.
Captain Batal, who he's been hooking up with.
His special friend.
His special friend, his downstairs friend. She's
There's a
leaving
party
to
in
do
his
whatever.
pants, and she is invited.
Yeah, they are very friendly, and they've been on manoeuvres together. Both of their ships have been together doing manoeuvres.
And how?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But we're at nothing majorly of interest there. I don't think when he's saying goodbye, other than maybe we'll get a Pike cookbook in between seasons because they push hard on him being a cook, don't they?
I know he's even like refrying leftovers, which I don't think is necessary considering the replicator. Like how are there even leftovers? How did they not recycle the leftovers when they were done? Why are there even leftovers? How is Pike? Like surely Pike makes precise portions.
Yeah.
Well,
they probably got busy before they finished eating.
Probably. I mean, they're only human. I do love. That being said, I do love recooking leftovers.
Yeah, and when you think of it, anyway, if you did have leftovers and put them back into the replicator or matter synthesizer because it's TOS time, you probably get out. It probably takes away the molecules of that and puts them into more food in the future anyway. So everyone's eating leftovers all the time.
Exactly, everything is leftovers.
Yeah. Even Pike's special food that he's cooking, presumably. Yeah. So then we're in the meeting room, and Pike's talking to Hansen Al-Salah.
Hansen Al-Salah, Commander Hansen.
Yeah. Copying because in Balance of Terror, it was just a white dude called Hansen.
It was just a white dude called Hansen. So they've changed. So I like this because I'm guessing because like my family's from the American South, New Orleans, Bourbon Street, baby, and in Louisiana, which by all accounts now is a terrible place. It's common to call people like Miss Carrie, Mr. Les, Mr. Ethan, Mr. Mike. That's So you've got Commander Hansen, and that's his first name.
Yeah.
Commander Hansen. So that's like Commander Ethan, Commander Mike. He sounds like a pretty nice guy. Just call me Commander. Call me Commander Hansen.
And there's no way the racists who somehow still like Star Trek will get annoyed with that at all, of
Oh,
course.
fuck them.
Yeah.
Fuck them. To be honest, we probably won't hear them over the people just going mental about the whether or not they should have used different badges. He has a different badge.
But that's fine. Like,
that's fine.
Outpost badges are supposed to be different. It was you're not supposed to have a different badge if you're in Starfleet.
Yeah,
you're all supposed to have the Delta.
I know that in the behind the scenes thing, Gene Roddenberry got annoyed at the costume makers for making uniforms with different badges just because people were on different ships. Yeah. He was like, "That's not what I meant." Yeah, it was different. That was supposed to be badges depending on ship. Different. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and unfortunately, Enterprise did that with the not having the Delta. They had a weird thing for the Defiant when they went into the mirror. Thing.
They could have made a corrective move, but they didn't.
They could have, but they didn't.
God damn it, Enterprise! Yet another reason why you go in the bin.
Poor Enterprise. Poor baby.
I'm just joking. I like Enterprise.
Yeah, it's a good show. But Hanson's kid comes in, Mott, and Pike has, one of the shell shock moments where the whole thing goes because Mott Al-Salah is one of the kids that dies when Pike tries to saves a load of crew. One of two people that die is Mott Al-Salah. So Pike's storming out there and being chased by Una. And he says he's going to try and do something to fix it, really. So that poor Mott kid, another 9-year-old kid ready to die on the fire of Strange New Worlds.
This show really does hate kids in the same way that Star Wars hates animals.
Yeah, it is. Man. Can we abuse this child?
How many children can we kill?
Yeah. Well, it's up to 4 at least, isn't it? It's Mbenga's kid going off with possibly the paedophile Nebula.
Yep. And even before that she was a dying child for her entire life.
Yeah. Trapped in an existential hell.
Yep. The child that was sacrificed at the altar of floating cities.
Yep.
La'an's brother.
Mm-hmm.
The traumatized girl from Aliens.
Yeah.
Fuck them kids.
And all the little baby Gorn.
All the little
just
baby
looking for a bit of food.
Those.
Yeah.
Yep.
Never mind. Kids, who needs them? So Pike's next bit. Pike's in his quarters and he's drafting a memo to Mott to say, oh, you want to be in Starfleet? That's a good idea, but maybe don't because you're going to die horribly. And that's where we get our first surprise of the show. Is we get a old Pike who's come for a visit.
He's still old. He still looks fantastic.
He looks
aged
fantastic.
20 years. He's barely aged a day.
Yeah. He's still held all his hair,
Yep.
Yeah, the most important thing, if we knew that man was going to get older and lose his hair, then what would be the point in living for him still?
No. Good God.
But he's in a monster maroon, or a modified monster maroon.
What did you think? What did you think of the monster maroon?
I don't like in the current Strange New Worlds, the Delta bits, or the weird pattern. And I don't like it more on the Monster Maroon, but it was pretty damn faithful than that.
Yeah, I think that the part that bothered me was the sleeves. I can whatever, that's fine. And also there is the get out of jail free card that this Pike is from an alternate timeline.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the Monster Maroons that we know.
Exactly, it's not the Monster Maroons that we all know and love.
Hmm.
What bothered me more was the double breastness. The overlap was kind of it was a bit low, and when the thing comes over, it just kind of made it look like some of the more naff Star Trek cosplays from the 90s. That I've seen many pictures of.
Yeah, I did
Um,
think that as well. The strap was low, but
yeah, a bit low. Wants to be.
it's fine enough, I
It's
suppose.
totally fine. He looked fantastic.
Yeah, he's a
Uh,
good-looking gent. Whatever
yeah,
makeup they slap on him.
and yeah, and his nice little hey, Monster Maroon, cool.
Yeah. So that was our first nice surprise of the episode, and he's back in time using a Klingon time crystal.
Yes.
So they're pinching that from the second season of Disco
Yeah.
to
I
show
was
him his future.
I was never a fan of the time crystal thing. It was a bit Dungeons and Dragons,
Yeah,
bit too much D&D in my Star Trek for that one.
that and it
But
makes me think. Why are the Klingons not constantly going to these time crystals? A chancellor going down and being like, I wonder if I start this war, will it be honourable or not? Will I die in honourable battle or will I
yeah.
not?
Yeah, it's an element that doesn't necessarily make sense to me. It would make more sense if in season 2 of Discovery they made the whole time crystal thing not Klingon. The fact that the Klingons have control over a planet of time crystals
Yeah.
is insane to me.
I tell you what could have worked, and they would have only been using it a season earlier. Guardian of Forever.
Yeah, totally. Why not?
Yeah, to show the future.
We could have had Wesley. We could have got Wesley back as the Traveler.
Yeah.
But we wanted Monster Maroon, so we got Future Pike.
You know what it's made me think of though, like talking through it now, and I hadn't thought of it before. I probably need to rewatch Voyager Endgame because the Klingons give
Voyager Endgame, yeah, that should have been on my
Janeway,
fucking list.
but the Klingons give Janeway what she needs to travel back in time, don't they? Is that time crystal? Yeah. Because it's B'Elanna's daughter working with Klingons there gives something to Janeway, to Admiral Janeway, so she can travel back in time. So maybe these Klingons, Klingons as a species, we think of them as war races, but they are just the masters of time. They are time lords.
They're the time lords. That's insane.
Yeah. So yeah, he's there to show young Pike, Captain Pike, Rear Admiral's there to show young Captain Pike how things go wrong if he manages to avoid his fate. So it's fine enough. It's a good start to an episode. It punches in very quickly. This is all pre-credits.
Yeah, it's a bit. It's a Wonderful Life or a Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the episode that Pike gets flung back to, that I suppose we already mentioned before, is Balance of Terror.
Yeah,
So-
and we're straight into it. Is it? So, as I recall, but in Balance of Terror, we jump straight into the wedding ceremony that's happening at the start of that episode.
Yeah. And, parts of it are beat for beat. It looks like they've tried to mirror the same, husband and bride, other than the husband's lost about 2 foot on him, which, is fine.
Yeah. I mean, just as skinny. I'm one to talk, but some skinny, tough guys from 60s TV. A lot of the time, there's some skinny ass tough guys. But yeah.
But it's great set design as well, because they're Pike standing in front of the altar or whatever is the same, or it's a redone one from TOS as well, and they've got the wedding music in the background like they had in TOS. And Pike obviously doesn't know he doesn't have his knowledge of why he's there or what he's doing, so he's
stumbling through.
He's stumbling
clumsily.
Through. Yeah,
it must be something to see Chris Pike go from what I imagine was probably quite a beautiful and moving speech, to apparently just stock because it's the same. He's obviously probably not reading a beautiful speech. He's probably reading from the captain's handbook of of what you
how
say
to
at
marry
weddings,
people.
because
Yeah.
it's all the same stuff.
That
Since
the
the
age
days
of
of
wooden
the first
ships,
wooden vessels, all shipmasters have had one happy privilege.
So the same as Balance of Terror. There's a red alert. Pike is saved. Spock's telling him. Spock says he's the number one, and he's telling him that Outpost 4 has sent out a distress signal. They go to the bridge. Pike does the same walk around the bridge that Kirk does. Asks what's happening.
Yep.
The other outposts
Yeah, they
have
match
gone
camera
down.
movements. It's good. It's well made. It's
Yeah.
good.
What I was thinking is Pike pauses on Kirk's walk around of the set. He pauses and talks to Scotty, and Pike pauses there, and he's like looking for someone to talk to at that point, just so it matches up a bit better time wise.
Yeah, that's like on. You made a great video with some scene comparisons, and I
Yeah.
think that like Pike and Kirk in both the original and this one, they both share equal amounts of like pausing for a purpose and just pausing to pose.
Yeah,
So we're literally getting like a shot-for-shot remake of that opening scene from Balance of Terror, where Commander Hansen, first name Hansen, gets fucked up. The outpost gets exploded by a decloaking Romulan bird of prey,
yeah. Bird of prey,
not a warbird.
not Warbird.
They're
It's
sticking
even
with
got
the
a bird.
original script mistake.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which it's fine. It's fine. I can live with it.
Yeah.
Don't they reuse the warbirds for Klingons later in the series as well?
I think
too?
so. I
That's-
think like they just couldn't decide which ship was which and which had what name and who had each ship.
It's fine. I've tried to headcanon it as they traded ships. They had a agreement, and that's how the Klingons got Cloak.
Yeah.
And traded over ships. Fine.
Yeah.
But the station gets destroyed, and the Romulan
in a
goes
spectacular fashion. I'm sorry, but that shot of Hansen
Yeah.
getting blown up is fantastic.
Yeah.
That was some of the funniest shit I've seen in a while.
Yeah, getting sucked out the back.
It's just
Yeah. And goes away in cloaks just like it does in Balance of Terror. But thankfully, we've got another ship arriving because it's an altered timeline. Means the Farragut can be there with James T. Kirk as captain.
crazy.
Crazy. So we know.
So what
Kirk
do we
was
think?
the-
What do we think of this new Kirk?
Not a fan so far.
What's the actor called again?
Paul Wesley. Sorry,
Paul Wesley.
is the
Shut up, Wesley.
Shut up, Wesley. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's played as he's a bit more of a, I don't know. It's like I feel like the actor is kind of playing Kirk as a bit of a military man, you know.
He
which is
doesn't seem to
fine.
have any of the charm to me.
No, none of the charm. The guy that plays Sam Kirk would have been better.
Yeah. I
Guy that
tell
plays
you
Sam
what
Kirk would have been better.
I tell you what they should have done, and because it's Balance of Terror, we can spoil that the Romulans in it as well. The same.
Oh yeah,
Romulan
the
commander.
Romulan commander is in it. Yeah, they should have got the actor that plays Sarek to play the Romulan commander.
Because then we could have
100%.
had Sarek playing the Romulan commander.
Again.
We could have had Una and Chapel be the same person, or played by the same
so
actress.
many missed opportunities for casting gags.
Yeah,
I mean, there's still opportunity for either Una or I'm thinking we could maybe it'd be cool to get a young Luoxana Troy played by Chapel.
yeah.
That would be fun.
Or-
We've still got an opportunity for that.
Or find out that Una in her, because in this timeline she's imprisoned, isn't she, for being an Elorian
Yeah.
and genetically modified. All they do for her is they're recording her voice to use on ships. They're like, we've got to record your voice, Una. We can't find anyone to do this for free, and we've got you in prison anyway. So
Yes, this is the punishment for your crime of existing. You have to
Yes.
do voiceover work for the rest of your life.
yeah. But Kirk's there on the Farragut, and he suggests the same thing he does in Balance of Terror, shadowing the bird of prey as it, moves towards the Romulan neutral zone, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Exact same thing.
Yep. The theme of this, like Kirk does everything the same, Spock does everything the same. The only kind of differences that we get is like we have Ortegas and we have Mitchell at the consoles, who for some reason in this alternate future timeline have switched sides.
My theory on that,
we needed Ortegas because Ortegas is one of the main characters, so Ortegas gets the lines. But Ortegas needed to be in that seat to match the racist from the original episode.
What was his name? It's like Siler or...
Fuck him. Who cares what his fucking name is? He was a xenophobic prick. But fine. But there was the parts that I enjoyed the most about that whole scene is obviously seeing the Romulans. I love Romulans, but the way that they match the lighting. With the stark lighting there and the weird lights going across the ship as well when they're doing some other maneuvers, and like later on when Kirk is in battle and he pulls the ship round and the camera does like extreme tilts. They used some silly old school lighting techniques in this episode that I thoroughly enjoyed.
The camera, as we've already said, follows Pike round the bridge like it did Kirk. There's a bit with Spock in a minute or two that does the same ramp into him, so he can, put the eyebrow up.
Mm-hmm.
So they've copied a fair bit, but it doesn't stand out. Because I had to watch Balance of Terror again to be like, okay, that's the same camera move. That's different. It wasn't like something stood out completely as like, oh, that's 60s filming and that's modern day filming.
Oh, I loved it. It was it's because I have a film degree, and like when we don't make TV or film the same way that we used to, and the second you use like a camera technique like turning the camera around like that, or the second you use lighting like that, I kind of like, it's like I'm tuned to spot it. And so like I twigged fairly early on that despite not seeing Balance of Terror in a long time, I twigged fairly early on that we were copying that episode just because like that stuff stood out to me. It was great. I do think another note about the Kirk actor, he could have been doing just a little bit more of a Shatner. I think that would have made up for it.
I don't even necessarily think he needs to do a Shatner, because when you think of it, Chris Pine didn't do a Shatner for the majority of the Kelvin.
He had some Shatner-y moments.
Chris Pine's good. Yeah,
Chris
when he
Pine
was
is good.
Eating the apple when he was on the...
But this actor's not as good as Chris Pine, in my opinion. No. Sorry to the actor.
I don't think that's too harsh to say for him. Chris Pine is a movie level actor that gets, is way over budget for the show, and this guy's a guy we've never seen before in any other TV program.
I prefer that version of young Kirk to this version of alternate reality Kirk. But I think that the performance, he could have made up for that by doing a bit more of a Shatner impression. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just my God, Spock. My God. Not full on like, my God. Like, just a little.
Just even if you're not going to do the voice, do like the extra pauses. Do the
little pauses
over there, do that sort of half a beat.
We'll shadow him. He'll not even that much. Just a little bit more of a shadow.
Just a little bit. But there you go. And on hearing that it's George Kirk's brother, Pike has a conversation with George Kirk about his brother and seeing, what kind of captain is he going to be, and is he the person who's going to mess up this situation? Even though Pike knows that him being there is the person that messes up the situation, not Kirk.
Right. Just like presumably when Jim Kirk in the Prime timeline takes over the Enterprise, either Sam quits or James Kirk's like, no, I'm not working with you. You're a fucking liability, mate.
Doesn't he work on the Enterprise? In the one episode he appears dead? Or is he on an outpost?
No, he's down on a planet.
Is he? Okay.
He's down on a planet, yeah. He's been down working on the planet for a couple of years. So presumably either Kirk booted him off the ship or Sam was like, oh, fuck this, I'm not working for my little brother.
Yeah. Well, it's the same with, Sulu, Styler or whatever his name is, Bones. You can all say, well, Kirk coming in could have brought his best mates into the ship. And when he didn't do that, or Pike living a bit longer made Ortega's live a bit longer rather than dying or whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. You're keen on her dying, so...
I'm not keen on her, I thought that she would, but spoiler alert, she doesn't.
She doesn't. Even in an alternate timeline, doesn't die. Manages to live.
Yeah.
So, it's the same, or we've managed to tap into their signals, Spock's broken the code, and the Romulans look exactly like Vulcans. Oh, what a shock. Everyone starts saying, especially Ortegas, well, you bloody Vulcans, being the racist person on the ship now.
Yeah.
In the future. So, apparently Ortegas has got that in her being to be racist.
I guess so. I guess maybe it's something about that chair. Maybe it's something about where you sit.
Yeah, I mean, Chekhov always was saying everything was Russian. Maybe that was how racism affected him.
Yeah, I'm sat in the racist chair.
Yeah.
Whoops. Sorry, Spock.
Yeah. But James Kirk beams over and they have the same conference room discussion talking about how they should deal with the Romulans, really, and come up with the same plan that it's going to go through the Comet's tail. Mm-hmm. And when it goes through the Comet's tail, let's double team it with our ships and boot it out the sky, really.
Yeah, so at this point, how does what happened in this episode really differ from the original episode that takes us down that divergent timeline?
It doesn't up to the battle. Kirk says in the battle that because the plan doesn't work and the Romulan starts firing on the Farragut. And Kirk's like, oh, fire on the Romulan, Pike. Pike goes, oh, you're too close. We might hit you and we're too far away or whatever. A conceit of the episode because apparently telling his computers or whatever.
And obviously Pike being a good person, he's not gonna just fire. Yeah. Okay.
And Kirk says, well, it was your you paused, you choked, you should have just fired straight away.
Yeah.
That's what changed it.
Okay, so and then comments on this scene. I've got to say, the whole this episode drummed up a thing that I want to say. I fucking hate this trope, attack patterns. I can't stand the idea of attack patterns. I don't know what they mean. I feel as though it's just a thing that is thrown into to beef out dialogue. And in this, Jim Kirk's like, attack pattern Tiberius 1.
Yeah. And
the ship just goes up like that. And I'm like, so what is the attack pattern?
Yeah.
So what is you're pulling like a loop-de-loop. You're not they're barely firing. How is this an attack pattern? How have you run what is the I don't understand. What are attack patterns?
Yeah. Presumably they've run drills and been like, okay, if I say Tiberius 4, what I mean is do a loop. And we'll run a drill.
We'll just say do a loop.
Yeah. Yeah. Because otherwise you'd be shouting, do Tiberius 4. and the rest of the bridge crew would be like, "What the fuck's Tiberius for?" You can say what you want.
It's a loop-de-loop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Farragut gets hit, and we see the destructive power of the Romulan. It's a big disruptor. It's not the normal disruptor. It's a big disruptor.
Big disruptor. Big plasma. Yeah. Big ball of plasma. Yeah. Same effect, just much better.
Yeah. Yeah. And it destroys pretty much the Farragut. Somehow people got off there alive because half the source is gone, other than the bridge.
Yeah, like, it's fucked.
Yeah. Dead in space, that ship. But we get everyone beaming over, including Commander La'an.
Yeah, good for her.
Yeah. Who continues her... Last episode, she was opening up at the end and called Pike Chris. And this one, she's just hugging,
Yeah, straight up.
Hugging people. Yeah.
Cool.
And then it's Pike doing the flinching on, oh, you should have shot straight away. And, you're trying to resolve this peacefully without killing them when we probably have to kill them.
He's trying the charm offensive.
Yeah.
Which is Pike's classic Pike move.
Yeah. He's a charming fellow. And Kirk is really acting up. I know they're both captains, but one of them's a superior captain. Like, one of them's been in the game for longer. And Kirk's probably kicking off, really.
Well, I mean, that's the brashness that is Kirk. You know? Like... I mean, and it's an alternate reality Kirk that isn't Captain of the Enterprise, but is still capable of being Captain of the Enterprise, and presumably the kind of person that would be Captain of the Enterprise is probably the person who's going to call the Captain of the Enterprise out when the Captain of the Enterprise fucks up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so like throughout this episode, we get these interactions with Pike and Kirk, and I'm thinking, like, are they kind of retroactively having, like, this is the reason? Did Pike choose Kirk to be Captain of the Enterprise, or did he
think so.
By the
time of the end of the episode, when he does towards the end of the episode, he has a sit down with Kirk and says, "Tell me about yourself," and Kirk
my dad was
references
captain.
the
My
Kelvin.
dad was played by Chris Hemsworth, and he was captain. He was commander on the fucking Kelvin.
Yeah, and then we settled down on a planet where a massacre happened. Great. I think that's like Pike getting to know a guy who he says, you'd make a great commander of the Enterprise. And Pike, Kirk says, you're going to retire, and it's like, oh no, not yet. But when I do, I think that's him, them implying, but when I do, you seem to be a good choice, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Could you see yourself in an Enterprise? Do you think you could see yourself? Do you think we can make an Enterprise fit your measurements?
Yeah. It's very harsh to say to another captain. I know this was a temporary alternate timeline, but that captain lost his ship, and you're like goading him with, you'll make a great commander of the Enterprise. He's like, oh, are you retiring? He's like, no.
Nah. Just joking.
Oh, so you're just saying,
JK.
Yeah. That's fantastic for me then. You've just said, oh, I've lost my ship, and you've goaded me into saying, like, I'd quite like this command. Thanks, guy. Great work. Yeah. But Pike continues down the path he's done of not peace, but being Pike as we know him and being different from Kirk. And he offers a ceasefire for 2 hours so they can bury their dead and repair their ships, pretty much.
Yeah. And we get
which is something Kirk wouldn't do.
Yeah. No, Kirk would just press on. Yeah. He would keep on task. Yeah. But we do get some nice moments with the Romulans. We get some interesting stuff. What did you think of the stuff with the Romulans?
I thought it was pretty good. They didn't have, in the original, there was like another old guy for the commander to bounce off. I thought it would be nice to have him still, or see that commander mourning him in that conversation where it's 2 hours to bury your dad.
Yeah.
Because instead they've just got this, like, the next guy down. And he does it in the original episode. Yeah. He communicates to command, to the Praetor in Balance of Terror as well. He goes like, oh, we've done fantastic. We've blown up bases. And that's one of the things that allows Kirk to cotton on in Balance of Terror, where the ship is. So he's always calling home to be a bit of a bitch.
What a little fucking dweeb. Yeah. Fuck that guy. What did you think of the uniforms?
Really good. Really good.
Did you like them?
Perfect sort of update that you need. Because the original uniforms were pretty crap. But
I love
this, like... Oh, they look like pillows. They look like...
I love them.
Push cushions or whatever.
I love them. I love those uniforms. My on Star Trek Online, my half Klingon, half Romulan guy wears like that old Romulan uniform, but with a Klingon baldric. Yeah, it looks sick, and I think they look sick. And you are wrong.
But the baldric that they do have, it's not necessarily a baldric that goes across like Worf's does or anything like that. It's just an over the shoulder piece.
It's just a sash.
That's just taking off their uniforms. As is, in the background, there's the helmets from the original episode where they were like, "Oh, it's really expensive for makeup, isn't it? Can we just stick helmets on a couple of people because it's probably cheaper?" Yep. They've got them as well.
But the helmet. When I saw that helmet, I thought it was hair.
Really?
I thought it was hair. I was like, "That's a fucking choice."
Yeah. They've all got the helmet hair. Yeah. And all of them, because we've watched Picard, are one of the subspecies of Romulan, where they all got cranial ridges.
They're stubborn Northerners.
Yeah. That was.
I wouldn't know anything about that. But you're wrong.
Damn you! Don't make two Northerners take it out on you, Star Trek.
Yeah, mate. They did have the sash, but it was just less obnoxious.
Yeah, it wasn't.
And it was a bit more. It was kind of like, it was a lot like some of the Romulan stuff from Star Trek Online, more than anything. From what I took.
I thought the commander did a very good job as well, because the original one is very weary of war, and this one, takes his bitch of a sub-commander to the side and says like, "Oh, I served in the Riemann affair, or the Riemann conflict, as did your uncle." Same sort of thing where it was like, you haven't experienced war, I've experienced war, I don't want to be in a war. You've just lived a life of paranoia. And now you're just like, you're rearing to go, and it's like, I'm tired. Yeah. I've done this, I just want to get home. In the same way that the Romulan commander was like a mirror for Kirk, he's just that sort of same character where he's just a captain, cares about his crew, wants to do his duty, and go home, really. Doesn't want to start a war if he can avoid it. So great work on him, I would say. At least for the start bit. When it gets into later on, when he does his death throes, I think Mark Leonard, original Sarek, does it a fair bit better. Agreed. Yeah. But it's like very hard to beat Sarek, isn't it? The 90s, the 1960s cast were all like, it was all so thespy. They were all such thespians. They were all actors of stage. Like, it's, a lot of their performances are a bit hard to beat because they're playing to the rafters. Yeah. But like, people who haven't watched Balance of Terror recently, go watch it, because it's not, compared to a lot of TOS, it isn't, that goofy and silly or anything like that. It is a very, very solid episode of TV. Very solid. Yeah, and like we talked about, we had the submarine combat style episode with the Gorn a few weeks ago. Like that,
that episode, takes a lot from Balance of Terror as well. So yeah, it's good submarine combat.
Yeah.
But with added, like, I guess it's also a good precursor to Wrath of Khan, where you've got Khan and Kirk. They never meet in person. Same with Balance of Terror. Same with this episode. The protagonist and the antagonist never meet in person. They only talk over the phone, like Die Hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Till the end of Die Hard, isn't it?
Till the end. Oh yeah, they do meet at the end of
Die Hard. Die Hard 1, Die Hard 3. I don't know about Die Hard 2. It's been a while since I watched it. They all do the same thing, don't they, really? Where they only meet the villain at the very, very end. But 2 hours pass, and both ships have been repairing. Pike suggests peace again because it's Pike. And the Romulan fleet arrives because the bitch of the sub-commander has called them.
Oh, wait, before we get to that bit, when do we get Scotty? Is this when we get Scotty?
We get Scotty, I think, a bit before that. So let's do Scotty.
Right. So we get while they're doing repairs, while they're in the ceasefire, we get Spock in a Jeffries tube talking to an engineer who is in the end credits is listed as engineer.
Yeah.
And is voiced by Matthew Wolfe. And it's Scotty.
Yeah.
It's definitely Scotty. We're fucking putting our shit from the fruiting.
Yeah. What did you think of the voice? I mean, did you think it was good enough?
I mean, it was all right. It was as good as the other fake Scottish accents that we've had for Scotty. We haven't had a single Scot. I wonder. Do we think? Did you look up the actor?
I looked up the name, but I haven't seen a picture of him or what he's been in before.
He's done a little bit of acting. He's done a lot of voice acting. That's when I was like, okay, that's who did it.
I think they'd recast it anyway, to be honest.
Do you reckon? Yeah, maybe.
Because we don't know. Scotty could be in from next season for all we know. After Hemmer's death.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. They could always hire another replaceable, another guy who's going to die.
Yeah, another person with a fucking with a countdown.
Yeah, target on his back.
Yeah.
They call him Mr. King of the Red Shirts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So yeah, it was nice having that audio cameo, I suppose.
And because we don't have Sulu, we don't have we have Uhura, still got short hair, but still got that scoop neck.
Yeah.
They should have given
her a wig.
They could have given her a wig.
Yeah. Just to show a passage of time as well, because everyone looks exactly the same. Ortegas has still got a haircut. At least put Uhura in a wig.
Yeah, Ortegas is still rocking that Hawkeye mohawk. Yeah. 7 years on.
Yeah, no one's told her.
But no, we don't have Bones. We have Mbenga saying the same lines as Bones. Yeah. We don't have Bones. We don't have Sulu. Who else do we have? That's it, really. I think we don't have Bones. We don't have Sulu, but we got Scotty.
Yeah. Which we can live with. We can live with.
Oh yeah.
It makes sense that some of them were on there and some of them weren't. So very happy to live with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the fleet has arrived and they demand. Before that as well, Kirk comes up with a plan and says to Pike, "Can I borrow a shuttle?" And he goes,
I've got to go be Kirk for a minute.
Yeah. Which, is a Kirk thing to do, and he goes off in a shuttle.
To go off with a plan that he hasn't quite gone into? Yeah. Just trust me.
Trust me.
No. Before I give you a shuttle in the middle of a combat situation, I need you to tell me what the plan is.
Yeah.
Don't you worry.
Did you notice again, they didn't show the shuttle actually leaving the shuttle bay from looking at the shuttle bay? Because I'm convinced it doesn't fit in
I think you might be onto something with there. They're just not showing the shuttle bay.
Yeah.
How the fuck are we gonna make this fit?
Yeah. We've made engineering too big. We can't have a shuttle bay. And the shuttles are too big as well. People can actually stand up in them now, and that's too big for our shuttle bay.
Nope.
Yeah. But the Romulan's back, the fleet, the Praetor.
They bring everyone.
To surrender.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Praetor, they've got the boss. They've got all the different flavors of ships. So many different ships. No copying and pasting going on in that fleet.
It was going to become very close to becoming Picard, wasn't it?
Yeah, man. But they had different ships.
Yeah, different ships, thankfully, and I believe one or two of them are from online.
Probably.
They've
got the assets. The assets are there. The digital asset.
Yeah, might as well reuse it.
Mm-hmm.
But the Pike's not going to surrender to the Praetor, and all of Kirk's ships coming in, and he's controlled all of the automated mining ones to come to the to save the day. Really,
yeah, man. Fucking Kirk rocks up with a bunch of dummy ships. I was like, how's he managed this? I'm thinking maybe holograms. No, we did that in Picard. They won't be doing holograms. What the fuck are these ships? They look like a bunch of, like the Evergreen. They all reminded me of that ship that got stuck in the Panama Canal. Yeah.
And they did set them up way early in the episode when we're first talking in the present to Hansen. It's like, we're going to give you a load of automated mining ships and build up your defenses and whatever. Nice. And here they are, all these automated ships coming in. So it's a standoff, really, because the Romulans don't know these ships are crap.
Yeah, they don't know what our ships look like. We don't know what their ships look like. Listen, these fucking hunks of shit, these are top of the range combat vessels, son.
Yeah. Pike calls them like Delta class attack fighters, doesn't he?
Nice touch.
Yeah.
So that was a nice bluff. Very Kirk move.
And Pike's saying, oh no, because the Praetor comes out as a real bitch and says, "This is planned. You've got all your attack ships here." It's like your ships arrived first. Your ships are here.
Yeah.
And we were just on maneuvers around here.
Why are you picking a fight with us? You are like right in my face.
Yeah.
It's like it is like when someone's like bumping their chest into someone. They're like, "Why are you getting in my face? Why are you getting in my face?" It's like, fuck off.
I didn't get as well that Pike says like, "Oh, you're on your side of the neutral zone. We're on our side," and there's maybe like 10 ships length in between them. You're like, how thin is this neutral zone?
Well,
if you could just be like, I'm in the neutral zone, I'm out the neutral zone.
How are they what is the demarcation? Is there a ribbon? Where is the ribbon?
In Star Trek Generations, passing through the galaxy.
Different ribbon.
There
could be 2 ribbons in the galaxy.
Yeah.
A wandering ribbon and the Romulan neutral zone ribbon.
Yeah.
But the Romulan neutral zone is an actual ribbon that is presumably a ribbon size, which is why we can't see it.
Yeah, it's very thin.
Yes.
But also completely covers the span upwards and downwards of the whole of the universe.
Well, it goes round, presumably.
Yeah, true.
Big long ribbon.
Yeah. But Pike points out that they've got evidence of the Warbird blowing up the outpost, so it's clear that they started it. And the Praetor goes like, well, now did she blow up the ship or set the ship to be blown up because they were weak to be caught and she doesn't like weakness?
Yes. I'm like, okay, it's very much like, kind of weird because it's kind of set up to be like, okay, well, here's the solution to the problem. I'll execute this guy because that's how we deal with stuff. and like that's our jest, and it's kind of like you would have. It kind of seems like a gesture of like goodwill to execute the Romulan commander, but isn't.
Yeah, he could have said like, "Oh, he was doing his own thing, and our punishment for that is killing him," and that would have been the end of it.
Yeah, but that's not the end of it.
No.
Like then they say, right, now that we've executed that guy, unrelated. No,
unrelated note. We're also going to blow you up.
Yeah. Yeah. Unrelated note. Fuck you. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. And so this where we get the same speech from the Romulan commander as Balance of Terror when he's blowing up. He's like, in a different universe we could have been friends, which makes me feel for him because in every universe it feels like he doesn't have friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever happens in this battle, he needs a friend.
Yeah. In a different
reality, I could have called you friend.
I could have called you friend.
Yeah, really does.
Yeah.
The old guy in the original episode didn't help. This fucking dweeb in this episode didn't help. No. Maybe in the Kelvin timeline. Timeline, they're friends.
I have already said, like, the original plan for the third Kelvin film was this. Or what was involving the Russian commander again.
The Russian commander?
The Romulan commander. I might be moving between what is allegory and what is real world.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
The lines are blurred.
Yeah, because obviously, in the original episode, it's submarine combat and the Romulans are the Russians.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, easy mistake to make. Easy Freudian slip.
Easy to do. But that was the original plan for the third Kelvin film.
Man, that'd be cool.
Chris Pine Kirk and the Romulan commander were going to come out as a mutual respect for each other and everything like that.
They come out with friends. My idea for the Kelvin timeline version of the Undiscovered Country, because that's what Kelvin movies do. They just redo. They just redo things, or they did in one film, and so now that's the
now they're tarred and feathered with that. Yeah,
would be like, instead of Spock making connections with Klingon command, it would be Kirk making connections with Romulans, and Spock being all like, "They killed my dad. They killed my mom."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and I give 09 Trek, like the first reboot, a lot of credit because, they do the exact same thing in this episode, and they did the exact same thing in Balance of Terror to connect it all together, where Nero is his name, isn't it? Where his ship is being real crushed by that artificial black hole piece, the red matter black hole. Kirk says, we'll beam you all aboard, we'll save you, but you're under arrest.
Your ship is compromised. Too close to the singularity to survive without assistance, which we are willing to provide.
And all that,
Yeah.
And they do the same in Balance of Terror, where Kirk goes, we'll beam you aboard, and the Romulan commander says, that's not our way, the ship's going to blow up. Yeah. And in here they go, Pike says, we'll beam you aboard, and the Romulan commander says, no, it's our way, I'm going to die because of duty. If the state wants to execute me, then that's what the state wants to do, and we're loyal to the state.
We can beam you and your crew aboard. You don't have to do that.
So, throughout Star Trek, you give your enemies not necessarily a second chance, but you let them turn themselves in to face consequences. You don't just kill them out of hand. So I do like
you're about to explode. Wouldn't you rather, face a tribunal?
Yeah, give up, and we can see you right. You'll face your crimes, but you'll live. And so I do like that with Star Trek compared to other sci-fis, and they do it here because they're copying Balance of Terror, but they did it in 09 as well, and that's why I gave 09 a bit more credit than a couple of people do.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But shit pops off.
ship pops off. The Romulans start firing, and we're ready to warp away, but the warp's broke, and we're getting hit, and we're all being shot up. And Kirk manages to pull his automated ships in front of the Enterprise to give them a bit of extra time to get away. Did you think Kirk was going to die here?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did think Kirk was going to die there, and that was going to be part of the reason why the future was so fucked.
Yeah. Same. I was just like, okay, this is how they're explaining it then. They go like, Kirk died, and that's why things are shite. Maybe we couldn't save ourselves from a whale probe, or maybe Khan comes around and fucks shit up, or maybe whatever happened in Star Trek 3, we couldn't find Spock's dead body.
Yeah.
All that could have happened without Kirk.
The ribbon comes back.
The ribbon. Ribbons!
Kirk couldn't sacrifice himself.
Yeah.
With the ribbon.
He couldn't die on a bridge, as Kirk does in Generations. But he gets away, he gets beamed aboard, and they warp away and hear that the Romulans have declared war because the Federation is viewed as weak because they were trying to push peace a bit too heavily, Pike was. So that's the defining factor on what has ruined this universe, is Pike is very heavy on peace.
Yeah. So, yeah, whereas in the original episode, Kirk just took them out.
Yeah.
Which made the Romulans go, all right.
Kirk, in the same way as the Rom commander, nearly did it again there. They're doing their duty to the state, which means, unfortunately, killing each other. They realise that one of them is going to have to kill the other one because of their allegiance to the states.
I love the next scene when Pike goes to sick bay.
Yeah,
I love it when there's a great shot of Pike wandering around. I love it when they use those rigs.
I hate it. I hate those rigs.
I love them.
You know how people don't like the car crash angle? So in the Weekly Planet, Meso doesn't like the car crash angle in Cars, where it's that fixed shot.
Yeah,
you see a person in the passenger seat and you see a car coming.
Oh, I thought you meant like when the camera is fixed onto the bonnet and like the car flips over and everyone goes. Woo!
No, the one where it's the passenger seat and say like the camera here is the camera for the car, and I'm the passenger. The driver looks over to the passenger looks back, and you see the car that it's going to crash into come in at the background, straight into the side. Right. To me, the Digby Chicken Caesar is that. Where you just fix a rig onto someone and they stumble around.
I love it. I like that one. It's good cinematic language for when someone is like,
yeah,
what the fuck. They did a reverse dead newlywed. Yeah.
So it was the guy this time that died. No, it was the girl this time that died, and was the guy that survived.
The bride. It was the bride that died, not the groom.
But we also find, we go see Spock, and he's missing a leg, and he's radiation burned, not for the first time.
Yeah, man. Spock's going to be a head on a box.
Yeah. And, it's maybe Dr. Chapel. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something going on there.
She's wearing blue, so...
She was wearing blue. She had a different uniform.
Yeah.
Better than the white. Better than the white.
I quite like the white.
They should use that for next series.
Yeah. But says, if he survives, he's not going to be the same Spock. And Pike, shakes his head and realises this is a pretty shit future for himself. And goes back to his quarters and starts drinking.
Fair enough.
Which isn't the first time we've seen Pike go back to his quarters this season after a defeat and just like pour himself a drink and stare out his window like, shit. This is a bad job.
It's a classic Pike move, because that's what Pike does in the pilot episode of Star Trek. He's kind of just worn out a bit, and he goes back to his quarters, and the chief medical officer makes him a martini.
Yeah. Dr. Bryce,
man.
that swindler, that alcohol dealer. He's more the barman than the the doctor, isn't he?
Hey man, I like that. They should have got fucking Jeffrey Combs to play him.
Yeah. Rear Admiral Pike arrives again and says, in every future that the monks have shown me, when I trade my fate in, something terrible happens to Spock and millions die and the war goes on. So in my time, probably 15, 20 years from I don't know, now, or 15, 20 years from whenever Pike originally dying, the war is still going on, millions have died, and it's a bad move. So you need to, this is your calling card now, you need to stop trying to change time.
Yeah. Just gotta get on with it.
Just
you
accepted your fate on Borath, and now you're trying to change it. Don't be a dick about it.
Yeah, well, he's got to that's the thing. Like it's kind of like he accepted his fate on Borath, and then he was kind of at the start of this series he was kind of still wrestling with it, and then accepted his fate. Then later on in the series, kind of thought, well, maybe I can work something out.
Yeah.
And then end of the series, he's accepted his fate again. So that's 3 times he has accepted the same fate.
Yeah. And it does kind of close the book on, because like Una says in the first episode, why don't you try changing it? And if you did change it, we wouldn't be in the prime timeline. We'd be messing stuff up. So it's nice that book is kind of closed.
Can't you change the future? Seriously, you do not want me to.
Yeah. I think it would have been nice, though, because you see him at the end of the episode delete the message to Mott.
Yep.
Does Mott and the other one have to die?
Apparently.
Or does he just have to get boxed?
Many. It's Star Trek, baby. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Or the one. Like, it's,
But if Pike got boxed by himself, if Pike got boxed by himself, would it be a different future? Because he wouldn't have passed his fate on to Spock then. He would have just still lived his fate, but saved Mott.
Well, maybe maybe there's no way of getting that message across to Mott without it derailing the whole operation.
Yeah.
And so, like they say, when the thing explodes, there was no one there.
Yeah.
Maybe there's no way of getting that warning out without...
True.
Without it all going off,
And Pike is committed to that.
Every time he's tried to change the future, and presumably he's tried to do it a few different ways.
Yeah. Pike is presumably really committed to that timeline as well, though, because, he knows Balance of Terror is going to happen at some point and that those outposts are going to blow up. And he's like, I'll never tell. Woo-hoo.
Oh, really looking forward to this training session, Captain. Oh, are you? Don't make any plans.
Yeah.
Oh, very funny, Captain.
Yeah. Again, he should spend all his off hours now recording messages to instead of having a beep beep voice, he should have a Stephen Hawking voice that is just his normal voice that he's recorded.
Yeah.
But he doesn't, because he's very committed to the timeline where he's a beep beep man.
Yes.
But this is where we get Kirk arriving, and they have that conversation that we were speaking about before, where Pike wants to get to know Kirk and says, you'd been great in command of the Enterprise. And Kirk says, well, my dad was on the Kelvin. Then we moved to...
Then my dad didn't die.
That my dad didn't die because we're not in the Kelvin timeline. People who think that, we're still possibly Kelvin. We're not.
So does this episode interfere with your theory that the Kelvin timeline began to diverge before?
No.
Okay.
Because there's big movements and there's little movements, aren't there? So in the same way that the Enterprise was still around, these outposts, the Kelvin could have still been George Kirk's ship. So for people who don't know, my theory is the timeline for the Kelvin verse. Matter was still spilling out of that black hole before in the timeline. Then Nero turned up, which changed the universe a bit more, which is why we get very small changes to that universe before Nero turns up. But it's kind of what sets up Pike as seeing Kirk as someone who's fit for command, really, of the Enterprise, because we know if they keep the same story as TOS had, Kirk didn't meet Pike at all. He just knows of him through. He knows something happened to him and goes, "Okay, yeah, I got the ship."
So probably some behind the scenes stuff with Pike saying, if something happens to me, this is the person I've scoped out.
Well, I think original timeline, he gives up the ship about a year before Kirk takes it over, about 18 months before Kirk takes it over. So he could have still given up the ship, said, "Oh, it's Kirk's." Then a year later, he has his accident. He has his accident that he knew was going to happen.
Right.
So he's just timed it well to hand it over to Kirk at the right time.
Well, I think in the original timeline, wasn't Pike already an admiral when the ship when he has his accident?
Possibly, but he.
I know he's got epaulets on.
Yeah. He might be a Commodore because they liked calling people Commodore more, didn't they?
Maybe that's part of how he avoided the accident is avoiding promotion.
Yeah. Then Pike opens the time crystal box, touches it, and goes back to the normal time. Talks to Spock, and were you emotional? You were emotional. Yeah, a couple of episodes about.
I was not emotional in this episode. No.
I was emotional when he was talking to Spock. So Spock is saying, and I can't remember the episode where Spock knew about Pike's fate on about Borath and stuff like that, but Spock seems to be clued into that. And Pike's saying, it's been a while since I saw you. It's like, no, you saw me 10 minutes ago in the conference room.
When you had a little flap and walked off.
Yeah. And, they imply to each other that Pike has seen his fate if he tries to avoid it, and it gets pushed onto Spock. And Spock, knows that it gets pushed onto him and says, well, I owe you a debt for not avoiding your fate and to take it like a man and, save me. So I was heartstrained at that point. I was emotionally manipulated enough to have Pike, saving Spock, because Spock is vitally important to the peace between Romulus, and he's vitally important between stopping V'Ger and all that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's the thing. That future Pike says to present Pike, he's like, listen, that man has a very important future. It's kind of, to me, it felt slightly more implied that the Romulan War is bad, but the fact that there is no Spock is worse.
Yeah, because in that Pike's lifetime, he wouldn't have known about the reunification of Romulus and Vulcan, because that happens hundreds of years in the future. So it must be that
probably knows about it through time crystals. Through the time crystal. Step into the time cave.
Anything can be solved by time crystals.
Find the time crystal.
Yeah.
It's Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. Crystals. It's very Stargate uses crystals, doesn't it, as a weird thing to power ships or to be computers in ships or to do anything that it needs to do. Yeah. So, And then we get Pike wandering the ship, all happy and he's smiling and nodding to people and he's like, "Hey, Uhura." He's doing.
Again,
he might as well be doing finger guns,
more mimicking of the movements of Balance of Terror.
but he might as well be shooting people finger guns as he's going around. He's like, "Uhura, I know you in the future. You do well. Let's take this."
Yeah, a lot of like nod,
yeah,
nod,
yeah,
nod, and everyone like,
all good. But then, unfortunately, we get Captain Batal coming back again as our end-of-season stinger. They want Una and Pike in the transporter room because they're arresting Una and taking her away.
so that's what happened to number 1.
But they're gonna solve it next season, aren't they?
I mean, like, are they? They didn't in the alternate timeline.
They didn't in the alternate timeline, but all we know of Una in the prime normal timeline is that she's not on the Enterprise. So next season they could save her and like buy her a false identity on a farm somewhere, and just be like, right,
yes.
Una, you can live on this farm.
Yeah, I suppose like that's one sort of takeaway that Pike can have, where he's like, well, we're not doing that timeline though, are we? So let's get Una out of prison. Like, and it's just fucked up shit.
Yeah,
Fucked up shit. Lying, being imprisoned because she's got genetic modifications. We talked about it in the episode about the Ghosts of Illyria. Like, it's just messed up.
especially when she didn't do that to get ahead or to be a superhuman or anything like that. That's just what her race does to fit into their surroundings. So we're not even sure if Illyrians look like humans. Una could have genetic.
We're not even sure if she has a choice.
Yeah, but it's very harsh of the Federation because they've got this no genetic augments because of shit that's happened with Khan in the past. That we're not going to allow that, and we're not going to allow you. You're a
we've got such a fucking anti-space Nazi rule. We're going to be total fucking Nazis about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that I think we clearly both agree that that it's an arbitrary nonsense thing that like shouldn't necessarily exist, but they need it to for dramatic tension.
Yeah.
Which okay.
Yeah. I can live with, and hopefully, well, we know Una's going to get out. I don't think they're going to end Una's story on she dies in prison. It would be very harsh of the writers to be like, oh no, Pike says he's going to save her, but she dies in prison.
Yeah, she died 30 years later.
Yeah.
She died trying to escape prison in her old age.
Yeah. For all we know, Illyrians live 200 years, and she had 200 years in prison, just in a small cell by herself. You go like,
It's like that episode where they torture O'Brien for 30 years in a prison, but without the happy ending.
Yeah.
Oh God, what if she kills herself in fucking prison?
Oof. Hopefully not. Fingers crossed, touch wood, that La'an and Pike are going to rescue her next season because they're the ones that are most invested in her, really. Yeah. So overall, what I was going to say, I think it slightly robs TOS. There's kind of a message in Balance of Terror that is, these two captains don't want to fight each other, but there's prejudice that they have to overcome, and there's impressions of each other where they go, oh, we've never seen Romulans, but they're warfaring, and God only knows what they think of us. And war's glorified by those who can't remember it, and you're fighting for an ideology that you don't necessarily believe in, and the other side isn't necessarily believing in.
Yeah.
That was a stronger point to an episode than this one to me, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think because that, but this episode was more kind of peppered with that message.
Yeah.
If we're talking about messages, because obviously this episode is about Pike and Pike's journey So, like, I can forgive it not necessarily executing that as well.
Yeah.
Because what I think it does execute well is resolving Pike's kind of internal struggle of getting to grips with his, this future that he, has in store for him.
Yeah.
By, and it reconciles that with the classic message of Star Trek, which is the needs of the many outweighing the needs of the few.
Yeah.
And that's what it does. You can try and save your life and you will live to a handsome old age. But
very handsome.
Millions will die in a war. So yeah, you gotta accept your fate. You gotta let that kid die.
Yeah.
Needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, baby. Classic Star Trek.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think because the Balance of Terror bounces off reasonably, or more than this episode does, on McCoy being there to be having the emotional point of, you don't need to start war and you don't need to be there. You're doing something for, your great-great-grandfather's war and stuff like that. I don't think it bounces off that side of it well. So kind of like, because McCoy, Kirk and Spock are the id, ego, superego all the time, aren't they? There's no real
but
id there.
We don't have that. Yeah, we don't have that dynamic with Pike. Pike is heart. Like it's Pike. Pike doesn't need he doesn't need a bones to be his heart. He's got a lot of heart. And like had Kirk really listened to Bones instead of just kind of taking his stuff on board and keeping it in mind.
Yeah.
If he'd have really listened to Bones and maybe tried to reach peace,
he would have fucked the universe, as we say.
Exactly, So, I guess, in a lot of ways, it's kind of stomps on that message of peace.
Yeah, it's really like, peace? Well, maybe you want to try and go for peace, but again, sometimes you just have to kill your enemies, kill them dead.
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta, cut something off at the root.
Yeah.
Sometimes you've just got to blow a ship off, blow a ship up at the root of the tree.
Yeah.
Wait, what? I got all my metaphors mixed up.
Sometimes
you just got to blow a motherfucker up.
Yeah. So, which is it was a weird message in TOS, and it's weirder here because it's not presented. It doesn't have that balance inside as much, other than Pike to be like, no, don't destroy yourself by becoming a murderer, which is pretty much what McCoy says to Kirk. Don't kill yourself by becoming a murderer and becoming all this. Doesn't have that in this episode. It's just like, nah, head of them.
Yeah,
murder is good.
And like, the response to Bones is like, oh, I won't be killing myself. I am a murderer.
Yeah,
I've killed so many aliens.
So many. If I don't sleep with them, I kill them.
Yeah, man. Basically.
Yeah. Did you also get the connection to the first episode of Disco? Because I think this cribs a lot from TOS. It references TNG and reunification. It cribs from Disco, and it cribs from Lower Decks, the end of the second season.
In what way does it crib from the first episode of Disco?
So the Vulcan hello with the Klingons, it is, if you don't blow up the Klingons, they'll never respect you, and it'll be war.
I guess.
And in this, it's like, if you don't blow these motherfuckers up and try to sue for peace, there's going to be war. The Lower Decks connection is the captain being, arrested at the end of Lower Decks season 1, and then this we get Una arrested at this end of season as well. So we get two things to fight for: two arrested captains or first officers.
Oh yeah, there's going to be similar themes in the next series of Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds, I guess.
Yeah.
Although we're going to get Lower Decks much sooner, hopefully.
Who knows? There's no announcement on when shit's coming, other than Lower Decks is summer. So summer this year, we know. Do you have anything else on the episode?
No, all in all, thoroughly enjoyed the episode. I think that this series has been a fucking 10 out of 10. Best first series of any Star Trek show by far.
Certainly live action ones.
Yes.
I haven't watched Lower Decks again since its original run, first season of that, but I remember that being a very strong first season. And the only one that comes close rivaling Strange New Worlds is TOS. So naturally,
yeah,
it's nice
makes
that
sense because
it all works together, and they're all similar sorts of episodes, I suppose.
But to finish up, I guess the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, and me and Mike, we are but the few. And so we sacrifice our time and our effort to bring you the tightest, most crackliest audio, jumpiest videoed review video podcast of any Star Trek show. We do this not for us, but we do it for the many.
And, if we could get you to like, subscribe, tell a friend. There's always Ethan's socials as well.
Yes, look for me at Ethan A. Lunn on TikTok and Chief Sit and Smoke, all one word, on most other socials. Facebook. I'm not on Twitter. I am on YouTube. I've got some short stuff on there.
We'll eventually have a Twitter for the show, I suppose. Once one of us couldn't be bothered getting up off their arse to do it. So, yeah. But other than that, we were signing off, weren't we? Man. Before I distracted us.
Yes, we were. Live long and prosper, motherfuckers.
And peace and long life, double dumbasses.
Double dumbass on you.
Double dumbass on you all!